friends. But they're not. Oh, that's the good stuff. And then we get to choose who we let into our weird little worlds. You're not perfect, sport. And let me save you the suspense. This girl you met, she isn't perfect either. But the question is whether or not you're perfect for each other. That's the whole deal. That's what intimacy is all about.
Why don't you love me, Jenny? I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is.
So what?
So it's not gonna be easy. It's gonna be really hard. And we're gonna have to work at this every day, but I wanna do that because I want you. I want all of you, forever, you and me, every day. Will you do something for me? Please? You just picture your life for me? 30 years from now, 40 years from now? What's it look like? If it's with that guy, go. Go! I lost you once. I think I could do it again. If I thought it's what you really wanted. But don't you take the easy way out.
What easy way? There is no easy way. No matter what I do, somebody gets hurt.
Would you stop thinking about what everyone wants? Stop thinking about what I want, what he wants, what your parents want. What do you want? What do you want?
It's not that simple.
What do you want?
On like roller coasters, you know I can read your mind. Yeah, you always seem to keep me second guessing. I've been walking a while, you got me tripping. I'm tired of what you.
Yeah, that song is really growing on me. I like it. Thanks for liking the intro, Yolanda.
Thank you. So far, so good. Welcome back. We are live again. Thank you. Ooh, then you can actually see the chat. So we did a few.
Yes.
We did a few modifications. One of the things that we did do, and before we do that, guys, thank you so much if you're checking us out on our YouTube page. That's awesome. We are also streaming live on LinkedIn, Facebook. Well, no, not Facebook. Excuse me. Strike that. Twitter and Twitch right now. We're having some fake Facebook issues trying to figure out what's going on.
You almost said fake book.
I know. And this is what, God, I know. So everybody, please bear with us. I know this, and thank you, Chris. This is Chris Hennessy, my good friend, live streamer, producer himself.
Hi, Chris.
Yeah, LinkedIn is being whack with the chat. I heard LinkedIn was having issues. Okay, so we are live on LinkedIn. So I guess, I know what it was. I saw that somebody said that mobile, so streaming mobilely, or if you're watching mobilely on LinkedIn, they've been having issues. And I know because I watch them all the time, and I try to comment, and I cannot, and it's frustrating. And you just want to throw your phone and just can't do that though these days. Phones cost as much as they are. So, all right. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Yeah. and
corn.
And corn, Dan. That's always going to be because you. LinkedIn has, so Yolanda's saying LinkedIn has a lot of issues with their chats. Okay. So I'm not the only one that's feeling that way. Same issues. God. LinkedIn, come on, get it together.
Maybe it's just for random people it's working.
Well,
and not working.
I haven't, it's been terrible. I've watched other live streams and I was like, oh my God, it just sucks that it's not showing up. Okay. I guess since we got that out of the way and we can go ahead and get started. Number one, for those of you who don't know, I would like to introduce again my lovely co-host, the amazing, beautiful Yvette Richardson. Say hello, everybody, baby.
Hi, everybody.
We are back. Now, this is officially your 5th live stream you've done with me now.
I don't know. I lost track. I stopped counting because we did 3 back to back. As my voice, I think, sounds like this. But yeah, and then I teach. So I was talking all day long because it's the first day back with new students for because I teach semester classes. And so I decided to talk. And so I talked three shows that we did this weekend, and then on Monday I had 2 classes, and they're 90 minutes each, and then on Tuesday today I had 3 classes. They were back to back, and they were 90 minutes each, and I was just on a roll. But the cool thing was they were actually engaged, so that was pretty awesome. And then I told some of them that I was gonna do a live stream again, and they're like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, we're starting this podcast." And they said, "What's the name of it?" And so I told them, and they're like, "We're subscribing." And I was like, "Well, it's mostly grown up talk." And then one kid was like, "It's okay, miss. I'm 18 now. I'm grown up." And I said, "Okay."
So we have gone with a name. We picked out a name. Now I will give shout. I think it was you, Randy, that said this. Don't get me. It was either you or Jaime, but one of you had mentioned, I think it was you, Randy, that said, life, love, and a mic. We almost went with that one.
Yeah, we really were.
We really did.
Considering that one.
But we ended up going with unwrap love. Okay. So we couldn't use unfiltered love because it was already taken. So we still figured we could go with the thing. So we might as well be unwrapping love. So it's like you guys are getting gifts with us now every single time you guys come on the live stream. So we're going to be unwrapping love with all of you.
I know Dan's going to love that.
Yeah. He's already having a hard time watching, so that's going to make it worse.
Especially with all the pink colors.
And everything else.
And then we added some purple today.
Purple today, yeah. So, but where I was going with this is that, number one, we will be updating a lot of things. So this week I will be trying to finish the Facebook page. I think if I can get it to stream there. Maybe. Chris Hennessy is Hit Productions, if anybody wants to know.
Thank you, Chris.
But anyway, where was I going? Lost my train of thought. So we're going to finish wrapping up, try to get wrapped up with a lot of our social media and get a web page in our web page. That sounds so old. A website in order for the show. So we're going to be working on a LinkedIn page, a Facebook page, and then eventually set up
Thank you, Dan.
our emails and stuff, because we do want to start reaching out to guests and people who might have questions, who might have situations they might want us to discuss, and we will be reaching out to experts to come onto the show and have some of the discussions that we want to talk about. But today we wanted to talk about one which was pretty cool. I started looking around, and I said, you know what, maybe we need to start practicing. And this was what a lot of this is getting some reps under our belt before we, again, this is our soft launch. This is not the grand opening yet. But
so this wasn't one of the original topics.
So this wasn't one of the originals, but I said, maybe we should discuss one and then kind of talk it over and then hit a few of the points that we wanted to discuss. So it does. Absolutely.
And there's actually a movie that has it in it. What was it called? I think it was called Unwrapping Love or something.
Yeah, it was. There was actually one called Unwrapping Love, Dan.
Unwrapped Love.
Unwrapped Love. Unwrapped Love. So you want to go check that out, Dan, you can. It's over on Netflix, I believe. So head over there, go check it out, and write a review. Let us know. Rotten Tomatoes and the whole 9 yards. Okay. Today, we wanted to talk about a subject, and I think there's a lot of things that we can touch on when you talk about the subject. So we're discussing why we're scared to open our hearts. So, part of the things...
We'll be okay with that.
That's okay, Dan. But part of the reasons we want to discuss this is that we do wanted to get a little bit more chemistry on discussing some of the subject matter, and also what we're going to do as far as developing questions and stuff when we start bringing on our experts or guests who want to come onto the show. But one of the things, like I said, when we were talking about this and we decided that we wanted. Well, yeah, I did. I kind of said, "Let's talk about it," and then I shot it off of her. She said, "Yeah, absolutely, let's do this." So, I we did a few things that we wanted to talk about. So
So the title is Why We're Scared to Open Our Hearts.
that's
Why are
right.
you scared to open your heart? So there's probably like different reasons why. Of course, you could probably think of a million. But maybe one of the number ones is just you're afraid to get rejected. So I know like Gabe might be able to share some of his personal stories of when he was younger that he shared with me if you feel comfortable, babe.
Yeah.
Telling him how when you were in school,
Oh yeah.
yeah, when you were younger.
When I was younger, oh my gosh. So I am not. Back then I wasn't the handsome, like, good-looking individual that I am now. So this was my adolescence, and I was
Now I
a
saw
lot,
pictures. He was handsome.
a lot younger. But I learned rejection early on, especially at an age where you're like even developing your emotions and just trying to figure out. So there was a girl, and I won't say her name in case she ever watches, but we were really good friends in in fifth grade, I believe, and things, we were always hanging out and that sort of thing. It never dawned on me that I might like this girl, right? Um, I can't. So I never thought I could like this. I would like this girl. I just saw her as a friend in the time, and then over the summer, like we both, I guess, grew and things changed, and um, you start seeing your eyes and opening your eyes as a very young man, and you think she's very pretty. So, we came back, and I was thinking, hey, we're cool. We've been cool this whole time, and I think it was like going to our first dance. There was a dance that we're having, and I wanted to ask her to go with me, and I did, and she just like straight up cold rejected me. Um,
Mm.
this was like a sixth grade dance, and then, man, it really threw me aback because I was like, okay, this, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, we're still good, we're still friends, we still like talk and stuff, but at that point, I didn't realize that maybe I wasn't just her cup of tea, but
But how long did that affect you
oh
throughout
gosh,
high school?
a long time. Trust me, I mean, it really made me not want to think about asking any girls out. Like my confidence level went from like maybe a high 85 down to like 25. Like I knocked down a lot, and I
That's huge.
I really did at that point. I really didn't say, everybody's like, get up on the horse and just try again. I wasn't that kind of individual back then, so I didn't even. I mean, so much so that I didn't even ask any girls to the prom for when we went. It really did like it really
I'm
did.
gonna take him to his first prom because we have prom at our school. I teach at a high school. So when I've been to a couple of the proms, and so I told him like I'm gonna let him know in advance because you can always bring somebody. So we'll go to our first prom probably this year. Yeah,
That's
and
uh,
together on
and
his
together.
first prom with a girl, it'll be me.
Yeah, look at that. Um, thank you, baby.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it really did set me back, and honestly, I did not think about dating girls, or I mean, of course you're like any guy, you think girls are pretty and stuff, and you're still gonna wonder. But I mean, even when you think that a girl might like you, when something like that happens, like you're less inclined to throw yourself out there, and it was just one of the things that like I said, it really. There were a couple like those things really do affect you when you're young. Like my fear of public speaking came from when fourth grade. My fear of rejection came from sixth grade. So the rest of my years, I was pretty much screwed. I mean,
It takes a while to unlearn some of the things that we've learned, how we've been affected around us, how we're treated around us has this huge effect. And yes, it is crazy how those early things do, but we can unlearn those things and we can make those changes. It is possible, but it's hard unless, I've been talking to my students about this for 2 days, but you have to pay attention to the messages. You have to give yourself positive self-talk. You've got to encourage yourself. Sometimes it doesn't come from a lot of people that are around us. So sometimes it comes from a lot of it from within too. Just telling yourself that it's possible, you can do it. I didn't learn positive self-talk till I was in college, but it helps tremendously. So yeah, the fear of rejection affected you. And when was your first kiss, honey?
Oh, so let's go to the next one. Why don't we open up the next thing that we're going to discuss
You don't want to share that one?
Oh, no, we will, because it's going to lead into the next thing what we're about to talk about, the fear of intimacy, right? That's another one that you talk about when you talk about, just the fears associated with love. So I didn't kiss a girl until I was 19. 19, almost 20 years old. I mean, you get the kiss and the peck from your mom or your grandmother, those sort of things don't count. I mean, the first time like laying and locking lips on a girl, and it wasn't until I was 19, almost.
Randy's not scared.
20 years. I was almost 20 years old when I kissed a girl.
First kiss.
And I didn't even
after high school.
And I didn't even explore sex until I was almost 21. So it just kind of tells you like where I was and how I developed and how all the things that I was back then. Because I didn't think, honestly, I would look at myself and I go, there's no girl that would like me. And it took a while for me to actually like feel like, okay, I guess I'm pretty good looking.
He's hot.
When I started noticing girls looking at me as I got older, but I never like really said, oh, I'm ready to go after that. I mean, I really just, I just didn't think it was for me. And I just went all through high school. And then even as I went into first year of college and stuff. And, so it was a long time for me before I even thought about like really touching, kissing, doing things with a woman. Like,
did you like your first kiss?
Did I like my first kiss? Yeah, I think I did. I mean, before I lost my V car.
So he was almost 21.
Yes.
For his first kiss.
So yeah, me and you, Chris, we're very much along those very same lines because it took me a while. I think it was. I was a little bit shy. I was a little bit shy. I was like right at almost 21 years old when I lost my virginity. So I waited at least until I got out of high school and I was at least a man out on my own before I like really crossed that line. But yeah, it took me a while, man. Oh, thank you. Hello, everybody. Great to be here, Mr. Anthony Ant Reed.
Who's the hounds of business?
Mr.
That sounds familiar.
That's Mr. Mike Asherbrainer. So,
Mike. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Mike. So my first kiss was one that, like I said, again, I wasn't like like most people think it was a memorable moment. I really don't like think about it.
No, he said his first kiss
was like 14, but
okay,
his
so
V
card was 21.
21.
I was 12, so I beat you. I was 12 on my first kiss.
So, yeah, it took me a while before I became confident enough.
I was way too young. I would kill my kids if they were that young.
But he's okay. Oh my god. Yeah. Like I did preface it, right? I said, your kisses from your mom and your grandma. So I don't know. But maybe reiterate it. Tongue, like when you went French kiss, like I would think
I
that
was 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was 12, and it was my brother's friend, and he was like, "Come here," and I was like, "Okay." So we walked around the side of the house, and he just got close to me. I think he was practicing. I don't know. And then he gets close, and then all of a sudden, bam! And I was like, "What the heck?" And so I was like, "Okay." And so I ran and told my friends. I was like, "He stuck his tongue in my mouth," and I was like, "What is that?" Like, I think he was trying to kiss you. So we practiced more and more until we got really good at it. So that's what we would always do, is just kiss. But it was my brother's friend, and we would do it secretively. We never told my brother.
Oh, shocking breaking news here. So if your brother's watching,
I think he knows now.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we just practiced.
I had a kissing cousin. She was pushy too.
You had a kissing cousin. Was it a first cousin?
I hope not. That might be a little strange.
Hey, Lucas.
Hey, say hi to everybody, Lucas.
You want to come in and say hi?
It's okay, Lucas. I don't think. Can you lean in a little?
There you go.
That's what we're gonna make our regular thing. I think this is like the third time Lucas has done a lean in, so we'll just have it be a part of the show now, or make a segment for the Lucas lean in. So guys, look out for it. But but again, intimacy, and then going back to the point.
Someone said, "Hey, Lucas," to you.
Yeah. So, but going back to the point of like Chris would say, losing your V card. Again, maybe it's a thing for guys. It lasts a little bit longer. Maybe women do it a little bit earlier. I mean, you don't have to divulge that.
I was 18.
She was 18. Okay. So,
no, but I knew someone that was 12 when she did it.
Yeah. I think we have those all like.
I was like, woo, it's a little too soon.
Yeah. And
I had a couple friends that were around
but
12.
Let's go into this even a little bit deeper, like even going into adulthood. Those moments of where you don't quite understand intimacy and you have a hard time. I mean, just like in my youth, and it took me a long time to even kiss a woman and again lose my virginity, and then getting to the point of understanding, like being with a woman, it throws you for a curve because you have no idea exactly what true intimacy is, where you start.
Especially in the beginning, and with inexperienced people, like they don't understand the whole concept of intimacy at all. It's more of just like, what can I get and I'm done. Bye. So they don't know. I don't think maybe on both sides, but guys,
I don't, and I think that's the thing is about it as well. Like even so those who are maybe more emotionally, I became a survivor of domestic violence. Ooh, wow.
Hey, if you're telling the truth, Dan, same here.
Mirror. Yeah, let us know.
Yeah, not so much the sexual assault part, but yeah, the rest.
Yeah. But again, when it comes to the point of like where intimacy and understanding what it is to have a partner who you can like really feel that kind of connection with love, because it goes to just beyond sex. Intimacy has a lot more meaning than just what happens there, but it also has to deal with, it's almost, I think it's our body's communication with each other sometimes that is pretty important when it comes to dealing with things like intimacy. And it's a subject, like we have mentioned before, that's pretty taboo. And we will at some point go a little bit further into diving deeper into it, because it makes it a little bit harder for somebody who might go through any kind of issues.
I agree, Corinne.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Corinne just put the thing up.
And good to see you, Corinne.
Thank you so much for tuning in on LinkedIn. But yeah, it can really mess with your head for somebody who's been molested, who has problems trusting another individual to be close to their bodies. I mean, we hear stories about it all the time, because it's a thing about trust, right? You have a thing about trust that goes into having true intimacy, and when that barrier is broken and it really shatters how you want to develop trust with somebody, it's very hard to gain that back, And I just think it would.
No, I'm sorry about that, Dan. I did not mean that you're trying to make that as a joke.
No, we wouldn't think that at all. But my God, the hard part about dealing and talking about fear of intimacy, that's a part of it. That those are the things that really can mess with your head. And um, hopefully anybody who's gone through anything like that, molestation, rape, any of those kinds of issues, yeah, it can really traumatize you, and it can make it really hard for you to feel like that level of closeness with somebody ever again. Even as trusting as you might feel with that individual, right? It gets hard to say, okay, I feel comfortable allowing someone to be that close to me and be that close to my body and everything. I can't imagine. I mean, I can't imagine at all. That's one point we will go into it. We're developing more show points and topics as we go along, and I think that might be one of them. So, um, that's another one of what we were talking about, our fears. But if we move on into the our next fear, we're going to talk about the fear of loss, right? Um, love means vulnerability, and vulnerability means the possibility of pain, right? So we're going to talk about the fear of loss, like heartbreak or losing, even sometimes losing a loved one can be pretty difficult in dealing with the fear of loss, right? And honestly, um, especially when you understand that the levels of communication usually begin with those things like trust, honesty, and vulnerability. And when you get your heart broken and you've been so trusting of someone and you really give of yourself, and all of a sudden, um, that pain comes from heartache. That pain comes from like people cheating. That pain comes from a lot of ways. I mean, it's hard. It's a hard sell to tell your the mental part of your brain that it's okay to love and trust and be vulnerable again with somebody. And even like I said, even in things like death, people have a very hard time, um, you know, learning how to love again after somebody dies. I mean, it can be difficult. So, I mean, it can be very hard to move past that idea. Um, I mean, for me, I've experienced the personal loss of both heartache, of a long term relationship, and then even losing a parent. So all of those things really strike you emotionally, and they really put you in a place where you question, your love of family, your love of self, your love of your God, your spirit. Everything comes into question. So it's very hard, and that's one of the ones that can really, that can be an emotional challenge for a lot of people. So, you know, well, excuse me, as I have to take a drink. Oh,
Yeah, especially like when you're married and you lose a spouse. A lot of times people won't get remarried. They won't go out. They're afraid to fall in love again. They're afraid to give it a chance. And a lot of people that lose their spouse will just stay single for the rest of their life until they pass too. And sometimes they're just so sad and so down that they just end up dying within a year.
yeah. And again, and this is the thing about love. Everybody thinks of love as just the happy, the joy. There is the other fears of things that go along with, wanting to love someone, like really taking yourself and opening up who you are to an individual. So, I mean, it is a difficult thing. And as we move on and talk to the next thing of what we wanted, the next fear that we want to mention, you want to open up about that one, baby? The next one?
Which one?
The
Fear of
fear,
commitment.
the fear of change.
Fear of change. Okay, so fear of change or fear of the unknown. So like with me personally, I had been in love, I had been married, that didn't work out. So after the divorce and after I was by myself, I got used to just being here in my house. My brother moved in, had my daughter here. I just got comfortable with the way it was. And so I was okay with like going out on dates and meeting people and going places. But and I even formed one relationship for a couple months, but I was totally fine to walk away from it. And when I realized and I saw the red flags that this was not going to be um something healthy for me. Like this guy, I mean, there were some red flags going up. He was starting to become manipulative, and all of that. And I was like, okay, easy to like scratch this, like break up with this guy. Like I didn't give away my heart real easily. Besides, I was like, it's okay because I don't want to change my life. I was afraid to change my life. I was like, what's gonna happen if I get married one day? Am I gonna move out of my house? Am I gonna not live with my brother anymore? I got comfortable living in that situation so much that I was okay with never falling in love with it again. Like I didn't want to change my life. So, that was kind of a fear to change my life and try to connect with somebody else. Was I thought it was gonna mess up my life too much. So yeah, I think that's definitely a fear for some people to.
Absolutely. I mean, and the thing about really loving yourself, um, and wanting to really take the opportunity to say it's okay to change things in your life. I mean, going through a thing like divorce, a separation, moving to a new house, a new job, any of those things, right? Especially when it's something like you might have been so used to and you loved what you were doing, or and life brings changes. And remember, we had a starch reminder that this happens to all of us not too long ago. So don't overlook what happened in 2020, and it changed everything for a lot of people. And it redefined sometimes how our lives are lived. And that's the thing about what, fear of change can do to you. And, loving somebody is really great. Loving yourself, though, is just as important. And sometimes it comes to a point where it's not even love that's driving that anymore. It's like you have to discover how much you really do love yourself to go instill changes in your life and say, okay, I can do this. I can move past the fear. But it grips a lot of people. I mean, trust me, I have 4 kiddos. It was not the easiest thing to do to tell all 4 of them I was walking away. And I know how much I love them. Um, my love is undying for them. They're part of who I am. They're part of my legacy. They'll be part of everything that I do going forward. But I also knew that if I was going to put myself in a better place in life, I had to kind of love myself as well and stop putting myself all in the back burner. And it was very difficult. But the thing is, all these fears that we're talking about here, they're normal. They're part of just about our everyday lives. They are part of our, how we want to, live our lives in our own self preservation. It's important. So we don't honestly have to let our fears like control what we are. We all talk about this, even if you talk with coaches and that sort of thing. They will always tell you, move past the fear. But my thing is, it all starts with a few things for you to actually get better in life. It's very difficult. So why don't we talk about some of the things you can do to overcome these fears, baby? We can move in that direction.
Okay, so overcoming. Well, I wanted to also say like there's also just the psychological part. So,
Yeah.
the attachment theory. So, like when it comes to psychology, we learn attachment from our parents. We learn love from our parents. We learn to feel like we're attached, that we can trust somebody when we're young, and when we don't get that, then we don't always trust easy. So that's another problem that can happen as you're growing up. Any of past experiences, traumas, and then also the cultural expectations that you should behave and act a certain way in society. So a lot of times society says like that it's not okay to say I love you to people. Like that's just weird if you just say it. Sometimes it's thrown around too easily and it's like people don't really mean it. But sometimes it's just strange when someone says it. For example, like our principal at our school, he tells all the teachers that he loves us. When he goes on the announcements, he tells all the students that he loves them. And one student told me one day that their teacher was like talking about it, saying that's so weird that the principal says that he says that he loves us. Like that's so just strange to me. And so some people do find it weird that other people share that love or express that love in front of other people. So how do you overcome these fears? How do you overcome them? So what's the first strategy?
Ooh. So, first of all, it's recognizing and acknowledging your fears, right? I mean, it's the first step in any kind of recovery process. It's commonly used in 12-step programs is the acknowledgement that you have a problem, right? So, it's the same thing. It's acknowledging and recognizing that you have a fear that one of these things is either physically, mentally, emotionally, like really causing you to fear whatever it is. Intimacy, again, rejection, heartbreak, loss, change, any of these things, right? You have all these issues that come into your life. And, part of it is just understanding that it's there. I mean, um, for me, like just for example, I knew that I had a problem having to deal with rejection and, with vulnerability. It was hard. Um, to be able to start opening up, right? So it was when I went on the journey to become more self-aware of who I am as an individual. And that was the first step. Is anybody that I talk to, any life coaches or anything, they're like, hey, you got to recognize what it is, whatever this fear is that's driving inside of you. I mean, that's the first part, I think, in wanting to even discover more about yourself and then understanding a deeper self-love. And that's part of where this kind of what this project is coming from inside of things that I have always wanted to talk about, because these were journeys and experience that I had for myself. So that's kind of the first one.
So yeah, just challenging these beliefs, like taking a look at it and saying, well, why do I feel this way? Why do I have this fear? Where does it come from? And so when you look at it and you challenge these negative thoughts and you start to turn them around, you realize that they don't have that much power over you anymore. So you can turn things around. And then another thing is a lot of it is you have to learn to love yourself. You cannot share love unless you have love. You can't share it with people. The experiences that Gabe went through, he had to learn how to love himself before he could really give that love to somebody else. And the same with me. I have a background where I went through all kinds of traumatic things from a little kid on up, and a lot of things affected me. And I felt like I was unlovable at a lot of times. And, I felt like the only people that would love me would be my own children. So when I had my first child, I just soaked up her love for me. And I felt like she's the only one that could give me this unconditional love, like I was her mom. And so I had, then when I got married, I got 2 stepchildren that learned to love me. And then when they were all moving out of the house, I was distraught. I was upset. I couldn't, I started almost going into a depression because I realized I wasn't going to have my kids anymore. And they were all leaving me. So I wanted another one. So I told, my husband at the time, I have to have another child. I have to. So I ended up getting pregnant again and having my daughter that I have now. Yeah, and I love her so much. Even when she says, I hate you, mommy, constantly, and tries to hit me and knock me out and all of that, I still love her, but she doesn't always give me unconditional love. I don't get it from my child. So scratch that. That didn't really work. So the love that you want to get sometimes can't always happen to you unless you learn to love yourself. So you have to love yourself first, and that's where a lot of it starts.
That's right. And then it goes into like, again, building ways to start communicating that. I mean, that also opens the doors, and then learning the skills of how to communicate. Um, those things are pretty vital, and you starting to learn more about yourself to really, because again, communication starts within, and you have to learn how to start expressing what it is you're feeling, why you're feeling these ways, and understanding why you're feeling these ways. It can become pretty difficult in the beginning because it's something that you're not used to doing, especially if you're somebody who's been introverted their whole lives. Can't
That's
imagine.
been me.
Yeah, I can't imagine having to step out of those realms to, you know, learn how to love yourself even deeper. So yeah, it can be hard. It can be difficult. And even for somebody who's just, more extroverted like I was, um, it's funny. I was extroverted to everybody else except girls. I just couldn't do it with girls, but
Mhm.
but to be extroverted, right, and be able to want to share your emotions, but you always held back simply because of the things that I had, like what I talked about, my fear of rejection, like all of those things. Like I always felt like I could want to, but then I had to explore inside and say, why do I not want to express these things? Why can't I say them? And once I learned internally, and I started to understand that I can start feeling better simply by talking about it and communicating it with, your partner or a friend or a family member, or somebody that you trust, somebody at church, somebody at your school. I mean, this is a thing about communication, is that it takes place just about everywhere. I mean, you had an issue today, right? Um, or not today, but you've had issues before where students have come and confided in you.
Yeah,
They communicate with you.
they do.
And I think that's part of them learning how to open up. I mean, I think at some point we all want that person who will just listen sometimes, be an echo chamber for us, and be able to allow us to share. What?
And I always try to say the right thing, but I'm a screw up. Sometimes I make mistakes. Sometimes I say things and I feel really, I've been feeling, ever since Dan left, I've been feeling so bad. Trying not to cry because a lot of times I keep things inside and it's hard for me to talk. And so when I open up, it gets easier and easier, but sometimes I say the wrong things. And I'm like, crap, why did I say that? And so I've been like extroverted my whole life. Um, but it's learning. Sometimes you say the wrong things, then you just hope that people forgive you. But
Well,
like when it comes to Gabe, like he lets me talk about my feelings. He lets me express things. And he's the first guy that I've ever really opened up and shared my feelings about. And so he lets me talk about him. And sometimes, like, I'm able to share them with him without crying. And I'm like, you're the first guy that, like, I didn't cry whenever I talk about how I feel.
well, again, it goes to, because I learned the skills to do it for myself, because I know what that trail of tears is like. Like, it's hard sometimes to open up about things, because again, I was kind of forced into it a little bit more. Like when my father passed away, I really lost a big chunk of who I was. Like, honestly, I was so scared. And then as I went through a separation, and even being away from my kids, like, you know, it makes it difficult to understand those things. But, it's like anything, though. You got to take small steps to start moving forward. Like, you have to start gradually learning how to trust. Like, that can be a hard thing. That can be a very hard thing to say. I can trust somebody to share my feelings with, and not feel judgment. I think that's what we all fear of as well at some point. is judgment. Like true, honest love is being able to allow that person to talk and to express and to not feel like I'm going to get ramrodded because
Yeah.
I said something that makes me defensive.
The first guy I told my feelings to started hitting me. So it was really hard being able to open up and share things or talk. In some relationships I've been in, I basically was quiet, didn't say much. They talked, but I didn't talk a whole lot. Kept things in. My only safe space where I've been able to like really talk and open up and share and be myself and be real and be vulnerable and be transparent has been as a teacher. When I teach, it's like comes to me naturally. It's a gift. And so I thought like doing the live streaming, like this would be amazing and good. And like I feel comfortable and confident. And then all of a sudden, like I get this negative thought after I say something wrong that like maybe I need to wait or practice more or something. Like now I'm scared and I'm trying not to let fear get in the way because fear can stop you, but it can also be a driving force to help you get better, to be stronger, to say apologies if you need to. I already sent one. Like, I'm so sorry. And, fear can help mold and change you and make you a better person. Or you can be so afraid that you just give up completely. Like, I could totally give up now and walk away from it. But, I don't want to do that either because I do love opening up. I do love being transparent. I do love talking and I do want to help people. That is my mission.
And I look, I will tell you this. I'll tell you this part about doing these things and opening up. You also do have to find a way to sometimes shed the things because look, this is what I've learned in doing so many episodes, and I've done my share of crying. I've done so many things in my tenure as a creator and a live show host. I've made some bad decisions. I've done the wrong things. I've done so many. I can't. There's too numerous to name. But
I've heard about some of your stories. I haven't gone and watched them yet.
but I will tell you this. In all of it, though, you have to understand a deeper understanding of self. Like it's your shield. Honestly, it is your shield because there will be people that sometimes won't like what you have to say. You will have some people that sometimes maybe feel hurt or offended. And look, doing these things, it's very difficult sometimes to be all encompassing. It really is. And, you have to sometimes say, okay, I can shrug it off. I'll be all right. It's again, everything that we're talking about here. These are lessons we're actually doing right now and learning in real time with all of you guys. I mean, so my thing is always for me, I'm just speaking on my own of my own experience. But for me, I understand that sometimes it's better to ask forgiveness and permission. And what I mean by that is that I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and I'm going to express what I have to express, and then come back. And if it was maybe offensive or it wasn't right in the moment, to go back and ask forgiveness. I mean, the whole point of wanting to be a creator and I express to all of you, right? I love all of you, everybody that shows up here every time that we do these things. The people that would follow me night in, night out, I would express my love for them because, part of the driving force of me wanting to continue to do them is for them to come along and just watch and listen. But I think that's that's part of the growth. I think that's part of the growth in what it is. And for anybody that's struggling, like if you're having problems, like understanding your reason why you don't have intimacy or vulnerability, why you can't find someone to love you, why you can't, why you feel like you don't get the love you deserve. Usually there's something internally that's sparking all of those thoughts. Right. And I think that's where beginning to open up and even sometimes seeking professional help if needed. I mean, that's a big one, right? How many people have said, have you ever thought about therapy? And they just shrug their shoulders because it goes back to all these things. Now you're going to have to trust a complete stranger to talk about it. You're going to have to be totally open and vulnerable with somebody. You're going to have to do all these things. But these are also the skill sets that you need if you're actually going to develop a really strong suit to actually find a relationship with love and connection with somebody.
Yeah, therapy is great. Therapy helps. It helps to be able to talk to somebody. It helps when somebody is listening. But a lot of people, have that fear. I don't want to go to a shrink. I don't want to go to somebody that's going to sit on a couch and say, "What's your problem?" They don't feel a connection to that person, and so they're not able to open up and be vulnerable. So it's one of the reasons why when I teach, like I want to build those relationships and build those friendships, or that the relationship of a teacher to student, so that they build that trust with me. And a lot of times they'll come to me. They have personal problems. I've had students come to me that have considered suicide, and I've talked and walked with them and guided them to counseling if they needed more counseling help. I've talked to kids that were addicted to drugs, talked and guided them. I've talked to kids that struggled with their sexual orientation, that felt like nobody would love them, and helped and guided them. And so a lot of it is people need to reach out and talk to somebody. And I always ask them, like, have you gone to a counselor? Have you seeked any other help? And they're like, no. And I told him counselors are not that bad. Like, it's okay. It's okay to have somebody that talks to you. And I said, I will be here for you too. If you need to talk with me, if you need any of my, guidance, I'll be there for you as your teacher. But you can also seek counseling too. And so I do want to go into counseling after I get my master's and teach dual credit sociology for at least a couple years. Then I want to start getting my degree so I can do counseling as well.
And that's again the whole. But look, let me regain my thought. Stop, Gabe. You're talking faster than your mind is allowing you to think. But the part of vulnerability that I wanted to also just discuss a little bit, because as you can see, I'm a very open, emotional person. My beautiful girlfriend here is also very open and vulnerable in what she is. I think that's the thing that really helps, like, form a really deep connection and bond between the two of us, right? That it develops our level of intimacy between the two of us. Like, we really had in the very beginning of our relationship, when we first started talking, like, we kind of almost laid all our cards on the table. Like, I think that allowed us to build a bridge where we were very strong from the very beginning, and it's only gotten deeper and stronger as we've continued on. I mean, correct?
Yes.
So,
Every day I love him more. So, like, yes, our strength and our communication has gotten better. And I remember the first time I wanted to say something, and I felt like, should I say it? No. Like, I battled in my mind. Like, I sat in the room and I cried for, like, I don't know how long. I was crying before I told him, and I was like trying to get all my tears out because I didn't want to cry in front of him when I started to open up, because I was like, I just want to be able to say it without crying like something's wrong with me. And so I went and I talked to him, and I was like, I was able to, and he accepted it. And he even, like, was so great about everything I had to say, and just so encouraging that, when he said it, he just made me feel good about being able to express my feelings. And I told him, I was like, this is like the first time I've been able to do that without crying. Like, I literally cried every time I had to share my feelings with anybody. Like, I just would cry. And so he made me feel so comfortable. So after that, pretty much now, every time, it's gotten better and better where I share my feelings and I can just talk about it without, crying and sobbing. But I'm still kind of delicate. So sometimes especially because I don't want to hurt anybody. So
yeah.
when I think I've hurt somebody, that's when, like, the tears come.
Yeah. Well, baby, but that's here. Look, here's a just a hard truth fact about it, right? I think sometimes again it goes back to something internally. So I mean, and again, when if it's different if you come from a place of being malicious. And I don't think that's coming in any point or fact about being malicious with somebody. I think more than anything, it's just, you you're trying to figure out you're trying to figure out the land.
Yes. I'm trying to figure out like what y'all are saying and then like comprehend it and then say it. Like it's a lot to like read, think, talk, listen to him. Like it's getting used to. And so like, with Dan, he's a joker. So I'm like, okay, it's joke. I'm ready for every single comment to be a joke. So I'm not ready for serious comments. And then when it was a serious comment, like I was like, okay, as long as you're not joking. And so I don't mean to say things like that. It just,
it come look,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna tell you this also when you're again, this is just a learning lesson when you're open and deep and vulnerable about these things.
Yeah.
So you really show another side too of being caring too. You're like, hey, I didn't mean it to come from that point, and excuse me if I stepped on somebody's toes.
Yeah.
But I also tell people again, I'm not here to speak. I'm not here to walk on eggshells either. Like, again, I do have something that I'm trying to get across. I do have something that I'm trying to create.
Yeah.
So I also look at it from the perspective of that as well. Look, I've lost my fair share of people who've tuned in. You know what I say? Fuck it. I just keep going forward with life. That's the thing about life. If somebody's meant to be in your life for a long time, or if they're only meant to be there for that season, then that's all they're going to be there for. Why should I allow myself to worry so much about it? Now, if I can take them with me a long way down the journey, I will. I've always been that caring person. I've always reached out. But I also say, look, there's a part of me that has to continue to grow. And there's a part of me that has to know that, this is what my mission is. This is my purpose. And, it sometimes can be a difficult, slippery slope in which we walk here. But that's the thing about doing these. You have to have the courage, number one, to say the things that you want to say. You have to have the courage to come here and do it. You have to have the courage to say, okay, it's all good. I'm just here, to help people. Honestly, you have to look at it from that perspective. And look, Gandhi, Mother Teresa couldn't help everybody. Jesus was perfect. Perfect. The only perfect person to walk on this planet, he couldn't help everybody. He literally couldn't. But that's
Love you too, Chris.
but that's the lesson. That's the lesson, though, right? And that's what love truly is. Love is truly knowing, understanding, and associating your fears with the things you have internally, and then learning how to express them outwardly. And exactly, still crucified he was. Ended up there. Yeah. so that's the part about this is what we talk about, the importance of vulnerability and openness, right? You have to come out of these things because I always tell people it's like this. We're all like Coke cans or soda cans or bottle, whatever, that have the carbonation inside it. You shake it hard enough, right? There's so much pressure builds inside. If you continue to shake it, so much pressure builds inside, and what releases it? When that cap opens and it just shoots out, it fires out, right? But you do the same thing with that same can. You do that same thing with the same bottle, and you slowly release, and you slowly release. You open it, close it back up, close it, open it back up. Eventually, all that air comes out and you can just gently open the bottle like nothing has happened. That's how you have to look at it, right? This is how our emotions are. This is how how we believe. That's just how we do. But this is, again, it's how all of it, like this is how we are. Like we have all these emotions, and learning the communication skills to allow you to express what it is and how it is, and to love. Like the reason I feel like I've found love the way that I've found love is because I was ready for that kind of level of openness and commitment and truth and honesty and just sharing everything, and including my flaws. My flaws were trust me, I have my flaws. I am.
Yeah.
You
He
know,
told me about him, and I told him about mine. So that was the first. That was the first indicator that I knew that this was different. Because most guys will come on there saying everything they're good at and everything that was terrible about their exes. So like this one guy, I dated him and I didn't realize that at first. I didn't know what the formula was to meet the right man. And so I was just kind of getting my feet wet and going out and taking a look at, what was out there. And so one of the guys that I ended up dating for it lasted 2 months. So he would tell me, oh gosh, like, yeah, my ex-wife, she was kind of crazy and blah, blah, blah. And, she had, said all these negative things and she cheated on me. That's why we got a divorce, is because she cheated on me. And so then his ex-girlfriend was kind of crazy and she keeps coming around and she stalks him. She goes to his house and, she's kind of crazy. And so he has like these crazy or people that cheated on him past. And so that, instead of anything, there was like no flaws with him. He was like, I'm loving and I'm this and I'm that. And, he had all these things to boost himself up. Like he was this perfect guy and this, great catch. And so I was like, okay, well, let me get to know you. And so I'm getting to know him. And over time, like little like red flags, like he told me one day he started all of a sudden talking sexually, like sexual jokes. And so I didn't really say much. Like, okay. And he goes, oh, sorry about that. Like, I probably shouldn't have, said that. And I said, it's okay. It's probably just a typical man thing to joke that way. I don't know. And so he sends me a text like 30 minutes later and said, I really didn't appreciate you calling me a typical man. I'm far from a typical man. I am so different. I was in a band and all these women were throwing themselves at me and I never had sex with not one of them. I am far from typical. And so he's like, that really hurts. I'm sensitive. And so I was like, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't mean to call you a typical man. And so I had to apologize a few times before he was finally like okay with it. And then little other things would pop up. Like, when I was texting him, I was at home. It was summer break. And I was texting him, but I wasn't texting him fast enough.
ooh.
Fast enough. He was like, why does it take you so long to send me a message? Because you're like off work and you're at home. So why does it take you so long to send me a message? I don't understand. Said, well, I was talking to my mom. I was watching a movie. I was busy. I wasn't just looking at my phone every 5 seconds. So he just made the comment. So the next day I start sending him messages back to back. I mean, every time he sent me a message, I was like sending it back. I didn't realize he was just like changing me and like turning me into some robot of a woman that he wanted. And so I was sending him back to back messages. So then his complaint was, oh, you're not initiating enough conversation with me. I feel like I'm initiating everything. And I said, oh my God, I can't win. I'm so done with you. You're frustrating me. Like, I can't handle you anymore. So it was refreshing when Gabe told me like some of his flaws, and then, he didn't really boast about anything about himself, and he did send me a live stream, but the one he sent me was with
James.
James was his name.
James.
And I watched it and it really touched my heart. And I said, oh my gosh, if this man, talks and does these interviews with people that have so much, like, he's achieved so much and he's faced all these, disabilities in his life, and he just accomplishes, and he just had this conversation with him. And I don't know, it really touched me that, I was like, I just need to get to know this guy a little bit more. So yeah, it helps to be real. It helps to share, even the dark side. So I've told Gabe all my flaws, like, pretty much all of them. So he knows, and upfront, I was upfront about my illness, and, he was fine with it, and like better than fine, the best answer I've ever received from anybody. So, he definitely different from most guys. He was ready for love, definitely ready for love.
Yeah, and like in terms of how like I knew she was going to be the one, it's like when I realized that she was ready to be that open expressively with me, because I'd had other experiences and it was always hard. It's always hard. Especially when you've had past traumas and that sort of thing. But when she was ready to be on that level and say yes, like it was like, okay, I'm sold. Like the bill of goods, I'm sold. Whatever it is, where's the paperwork? I gotta let me sign it. you know, but it's only gotten stronger over time, and I think we've become even more in depth in how we talk, how we share, how we like even live our lives. There's so many things that we've sort of discovered about love and our past and our traumas together, and it's only helped further our our relationship. And like I said, our bond has been strong from the beginning, and it's only seemed to have gotten stronger each time. um I mean, our biggest argument is like who loves who more. Like I know that it make you icky. You might want to cover your ears, some of you. Like, oh my god, yuck. But yeah, that's it. Well, it's part of what we're talking about here today, and the fears of love. I think these are experiences we've both had to go through to be able to get to this point where we were both ready for something like this. So I think some of the key takeaways and insights about, having a fear of any of these things, whether it's change, whether it's intimacy, loss, rejection, uh, any of those to have to deal with it is, just looking at the idea.
Yeah, we missed one, the fear of commitment.
Oh, fear of commitment. Oh,
that
my
was
God.
a big one.
Well, we're not done.
Yes, Melissa, we want to come on the show and tell your friends. Yes.
Tell your friends about ours. Yeah, we will. Absolutely. But yeah, the fear of commitment, of course. I think that can be a show all on its own. Because how many times have
you usually hear it that it's the guy that's afraid to commit. Like the girl's waiting and waiting and waiting for the ring and waiting for the proposal. And, it's like, when is that going to happen? A year, 2 years, 3, 5, 6, 10. Like some people wait for a long time. I was with a guy for 3 years and he never even said, I love you.
Oh.
He didn't even say I love you in 3 years. Like that was afraid of a commitment. He was too afraid to commit to the love word. And like, I don't know why. I was in my 20s, so I was younger. So I guess that's why I put up with it. But, I'm being older, there's no way. So yeah, but he waited 3 years and never said it. Never said it. And
wow.
I didn't even break up with him. We were supposed to go do a New Year's Eve that year. And he didn't text me back. And then all of a sudden the next day, I text him. I'm like, okay, so you didn't text me back. Like, what's going on? I call him, nothing. I text him, nothing. A month goes by, 2 months, 3 months. Finally, I emailed him because he wasn't responding to my phone calls or text messages. So I emailed him and I'm like, I guess you're just going to be a coward. I said, so anything I left at your apartment, please mail it to me. You owe me money, like send it to me. Cause I had paid for him and his daughter to go to a concert. And, I wasn't really going to ask for the money back, but at that point I said, I want my money back too while I'm at it. Like, give me my money back, give me my stuff back. You're a dirtbag. Like, why would you do that and just ghost me? Like, So, and that was 3 years. And so he finally emailed me back and he said, it's not you, it's me. I'll send your stuff. So
that line,
not you, it's me.
Okay. I think if you're like a single person that's ever if you're a single person that's ever broken up with somebody, or even if you've been married and use that line, you have to have a shirt that says that somewhere. It's got to be on a t-shirt. Somebody's got to have a t-shirt somewhere. It's not you, it's me. I mean, come on. That I don't know. That was like the greatest cop out line I've ever heard created. And, maybe it was uttered the very first time in sincerity, but I mean, it's almost like you want to turn off every emotion you have when the moment you hear that. It's like, it's not you, it's me. It's like, oh my God. Okay. Now let's talk about it with the truth parts. But yeah, I mean, the fear of commitment for me, hey, look, I had, trust me, I had it. I was in a long-term relationship and I never got married. What did that tell you? Okay.
How many years?
Almost 23.
23 years.
Without getting married. Was with the same person the whole time. So yeah, I can understand that fear of commitment because you get burned. I mean, I got burned in my adolescence. I got burned in my adulthood. And, once you've kind of got that hurt, and it took me a long time, honestly, it took me a long time to get over that fear, to get over the fear of it all. But yet here I am, and I'm like,
cats like to be on camera.
Yes, they do. But here I am, ready to commit to somebody because I feel it's the right time and it's the right fit, and everything is as it should be between the two of us and how we communicate. So, I don't think it was ever just the total fear of commitment, but it played a part of it. It was the fear of commitment. It was the fear of rejection. It was the fear of intimacy, that all like, and the fear of loss. All those came into play for me in a very deep, tumultuous time in my life, and it scarred me. And I wasn't ready to move on until actually I was ready to move on, if that makes sense. So.
Yes. Well, I'm happy you want to commit to me.
Yes, I do.
So, okay, y'all, I'm lost on this joke that Randy put up there, if you want to put it on the screen. So, here, just for you, we've had 3 men were in a boat and 4 had cigarettes. Okay, so they threw one out. They don't have a lighter. And then the whole boat became a cigarette lighter.
Okay.
Oh, now I get it. Okay. Okay, sorry. That took me because there was too much going on and I couldn't focus and make it make sense. I get it now. Thank you, Randy.
There you go. Thank you, Randy House, for the entertainment to have that come along. But
sorry for taking me a while to laugh on that one.
She's learning, folks. It's a learning curve. I mean, she's only 4 episodes in. I'm almost 500 plus. So we're gonna try to get it caught up pretty quick. We're gonna try to get her up to speed. But this is why I told her, though, when we first started doing these and just started putting them together, is that you have to get reps in so you understand, right? Could you imagine? But thank you, Melissa. There you
Bye,
go.
Melissa.
Got to go for the kiddos. Okay. Chat soon. We will. Absolutely. But
thank you.
but I lost my train of thought for a second. Where was I? This happened. About us getting to this point of doing these things together, and why I wanted to start doing a few of these sort of as practice reps. And I tell her I love to do my reps and do my test streams before I get everything worked out the way I want to, because then you run into instances like this, and you will get a chance after the show to sit down and think about and analyze things. Thing is to allow it to sit with you. Don't overanalyze, but allow it to sit with you, and then say, okay, and then you move forward. Because again, there's so many great things that
Your cat is on my fireplace mantle.
I'll let you get up there.
She's up there. Hopefully she didn't knock down any of the photos.
She didn't. She's still up there trying to figure out how the hell to get
there.
I don't know.
There's no food up there, no blanket, no pillow.
I don't know. I'm telling you, man.
She's walking on the edge. There's barely enough space, like an inch. She's walking. I'm looking on an inch of
She
it.
made it. I wish I could have showed y'all. Hey, we were both watching. It was like Olympics. She's walking the high beam and then dismount. But yeah, the whole part of wanting to do this, though, is again, deep down, we both want to help people, and we both want to learn. We both want to explore love even deeper. Even though we have a strong bond, I think there's always room for improvement. There always is. There's always things you're going to learn about yourself. You don't know what could be the thing that might trigger you for whatever reason. So understanding and learning more about yourself only helps you build a stronger shield, build a stronger understanding of, being aware. And it's growth. I think this is growth. This is all about it, of what we're going to be presenting to everybody. So, I think we've kind of covered just about everything, haven't we? I mean, we did give insights. We did a call to action for yourselves. I mean, part of it is for yourselves. Where did I miss?
No, you didn't. I was looking at it. It was like share your real life experiences. Like that was all part of it.
That was.
So.
But that's part of it though for all of us, right? It's
so what are our takeaways?
Yeah, well, that's what I think what we were sharing is mostly our
list
insights.
Of books. So we have a book on love that we
we
were
have
talking
been
about a couple days ago. If you have those,
we have been, and let me see.
Up.
Let me see if I can
so
pull. Hold on.
Love by Leo Buscaglia. So love is always bestowed as a gift, freely, willingly, and without expectation. We don't love to be loved. We love to love.
Say that one more time, because
we don't love to be loved. We love to love. So a lot of people think, and I think that's real important, is a lot of people think if I give love, if I keep loving someone, they're going to love me back. If I love them real hard, if I show them so much love, they're going to love me back. I just give, and I'm going to get it back. That's not the point of love. You're supposed to give it freely. You're supposed to just love to love because you love to love. If you have love, you just love, and you're not expecting anything in return. I love all my students. Now, do all of them make me cards and give me presents and come up and talk to me and give me a hug and tell me that I'm their best teacher ever? No, not every student does that. Not every student does that. I may never hear from them again. Sometimes I do, like the one that's working in my bathroom. I was his teacher, and he's actually remodeling my bathroom. That's what he does for a living now. So sometimes they come back around. Sometimes you see them again, and sometimes they do love you back in some way. And so, but that's not the purpose of it. And then if you don't like the scene that you're in, if you're unhappy, if you're lonely, if you don't feel that things are happening, change your scene. Your life is like a movie script. You get to make your movie. You get to design it. You get to produce it. You get to decide who acts in your movie, who performs, who, if you want funny people in your movie, you got to go find some funny people. If you want more serious people, if you want more loving people, like you have to go out and find that and create your own movie script. So like, Gabe had the idea and talked to Melissa about coming up with his list because he didn't know how to change his scene. He wasn't sure. And so Melissa helped coach him, and he got together a list and he decided what he wanted. I had been told in my past, like, you're not going to get what you want unless you have an idea of what you want. So you have to have some kind of list. So I've been having my list for a long time. And every time I met a guy, I'm like, I would a lot of times share my list with them, and they'd be like, yeah, that's me. I'm that. And they would always agree with my list. And they'd say, like, that's who I am. Even that guy I was with for 2 months. Yeah. So wrong. So I stopped sharing my list with people, and I said, I'm not going to tell anybody what I want. I didn't really have it in my profile too much, exactly what I wanted, because I wanted to look and I wanted to see somebody in their actions. I wanted to see how they behaved, how they walked. Because if they could walk their talk, I knew they were true to their word. And so I looked for that. And if they did these things and they showed that, then I was like, okay, that's on my list. That's on my list. And that's how Gabe was. I didn't tell him anything that I was looking for. We didn't say, okay, got on the phone. What do you want in a woman? What do you want in a man? We didn't have those conversations. We just got to know each other by talking. We talked, we shared, we told stories, we just communicated. And through those talks, that's how we started learning a little bit more about each other every single day. And we just wanted to know more. We wanted to know more, and it kept growing and growing until it is what it is today. But we always want to explore and grow. It never stops. Love doesn't have to stop. It just can keep growing. And that's what it does for us. And I think that's what's made us so far. We're about 10 months in successfully, like, you know, I haven't gotten bored. That's what I told him before. Usually when I'll be dating a guy, like after a couple months or so, I'd just start to get bored and antsy. And I'm like, am I making the right choice? Am I with the right person? And then a lot of times I would just settle, you know, like the guy for 3 years. We hardly had conversations. We would go out to eat and we'd sit across from each other and we would eat and we wouldn't say anything. We like, no, nothing. We would just eat our food in silence. We were both introverted, I guess. And so we didn't really open up and share and talk. And so I would get bored, but I would just settle and I was too afraid to change. I just got stuck in it, you know? So when it came to Gabe and we started talking and, you know, so far it's been 10 months of non-boredom. Like every day is a new day. Every day is a new experience. Every day is a new memory, a new moment. And I love sharing all of them. And he actually doesn't get on his phone and scroll when I'm talking to him. You know, oh my God, that's the thing I hate so much when you're talking to somebody and they're on their phone scrolling when you're talking to them. He doesn't do that with me. Like we can actually have eye to eye contact and have talks. And it's beautiful and amazing.
And part of that, to be honest, part of that is because I've had my exposure to social media. So I part of me is like what most people would use social media as a form of escapism and look at other things and look at other people's lives and observations and just see how their lives and comparatively look at to theirs. I don't.
What do you mean, like this one?
Yeah. Right.
Thank you for the rose. Thank you for the rose.
Like those kind of videos that people watch, and they go and they look at even those that go and look at their other exes, or they look at past girlfriends, past boyfriends, past whatever, and people in school they went with, and they just comparatively look at their lives, and you know they're like, oh man, that's, you know, so and so's doing so well. Like I've actually created content and I've created live streams and audio podcasts and all these other things. I've lived that life, and I go, okay, I don't need it. I don't need it, so it's not that important to me. So yeah, I know how to just turn my phone down and say, okay, I'm good. I'm actually observing life around me.
Yes, amen.
Around me. That, I think that's the most important thing.
It's so beautiful. It's like it takes you back to childhood when you didn't have a phone and you could open up your eyes and look at the world and just be fascinated with everything around you. You can do that now as a grown up.
Like I wanted the window seat on the bus or on the airplane so you could look out into the world. Most people now will shut it, look down their phones, won't even pay attention to the beautiful things that are around them in this world.
I always sit by the window and look out. Always. And I sometimes will take some pictures of the clouds and I'm just stare at them and look at them. I love looking out the window.
So yeah, it's just one of those things where it really doesn't bother me to not have my phone in my hand, and I don't have that attachment to it. As many of you know, I'm sitting here and I'm doing this. Like I will look at social media here for a little bit, and then I'm like, I'm done. Because you get used to saying, okay, I've been there long enough. I looked at everything. I know how everything works. I know how algorithms go. I know how to, you know, what I want to search for. To me, it's like I only want to look for a particular thing and then be done with it. It's like me going to the grocery store. I don't have to window shop for everything. I know exactly what I want, and then I'm done. and I can just head out. So yeah, it's easy when we start talking because I enjoy the conversations more than I would just looking at some image or video on my phone. It's not that important to me. I mean, to me, it's like this is the moment now. I can always go check that out tomorrow. So I'm good. I really don't, I really don't need it. So yeah, even though I am a social media creator and I love social media, just I don't really, it really doesn't affect me the way that those things might do others. So yeah, I love being in the moment, and it's what I feel life is all about now. And that's just the way it is for me.
Yes.
So I do want to touch on a few things before we start wrapping up and getting out of here, though. I know we got to get done here. It's almost it's past
10:02.
We've gone a little long, but we want to continue these conversations and discussions with any of you out there. So feel free to, if you want to reach out to us on social media, you can. I will at some point very soon. We'll have emails so that you can email any questions, concerns, shared stories, thoughts, or things that topics of discussions you would like to see us explore. We will be open to a lot of these. Now, we have some already that we're going to start doing and developing even more, but as we go along and create content and just want to share and go a little bit further down this pathway and just see where it takes us, we're open to those kind of things. So I think that's pretty important to be very inclusive of all the people who tune in and support us.
Yes.
So
thank you for watching.
So, all right, guys. Again, real quick, if you want to check out the book, you can go find it on Amazon, or I believe it is on Audible. If you're an Audible listenable, if you're an auditory listener like me.
There's a lot of good stuff in this book.
But it is Love, a warm and wonderful book about the largest experience in life by Leo Buscaglia. So, all right, baby. If there's anything you would like to close out with, anything you want to share before we close it, before we get done and end the stream?
Love yourself, love others.
There you go. All right. I love that. So, all right, guys, we will be back. We're working tentatively on a schedule. We will get those details hammered out. You might see us again this week. I don't know. We might be up for another one. We might not.
Yeah, I got to get my kiddo to sleep first because, she has a bedtime. And if we try to start it at any point and she's still awake, like, there's no way I'd be able to get her to sleep. So I try to get her to bed early, and then as soon as we can get her to sleep. So I'm trying to play around with times. And, like, tonight I got her to bed around, was it 7?
Yeah.
7 something. So we were able to set up
so
everything.
maybe like around 8:30, 8:45 it should be a good time for us to do these things and hopefully get you guys to tune in. But I am very appreciative of everybody who's shown up for this one. You guys have been awesome. I mean,
yes, thank you.
I mean, even coming over to our YouTube channel simply because LinkedIn and Facebook we just can't get it together, but YouTube loves us, so that's okay. We'll take it wherever we can get it, right?
Yes.
All right, guys. Thank you again so very, very much for tuning in. We will catch up with you guys as soon as we know our schedule, and as soon as we know when we're going to the next one, we will reach out to a few of you. So until then, you guys, like I say, live, love, and serve like no one else, and you will absolutely change the world around you. We will talk to you again very, very soon. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.